Cool. So basically, you thought maybe you would see like a show today. Is that okay? Okay. Well, when I was contacted, I was told that I was going to be coming here to talk to you guys about following your dreams. Now, I got to be honest with you. I think honesty is the best policy. I had this whole idea where I'd be like behind a podium in the middle of you guys and speaking outward or seated so that we're all on the same level. But yesterday when I was in New York, I had to get into this really tall taxi and I ripped the middle of my pants. So we're not gonna do that no more. So we're just gonna keep my legs closed and and I'm gonna do it from over here, if that's all right. Not even, that's just really real. I mean, what would you do if you tore the center of your outfit up? So he did give a little bit of my bio, and I wanted to tell you guys more because I think that when you see a comedian, actor, or writer, or anybody that's on your TV or here on the radio, or any entertainer, that there really is a story for each person. There is a journey, because it's not a sprint. Nobody really blows up overnight. Everybody hustles their whole life, and then you find out about them. So I wanted to give a little bit of that so you guys could understand that. And then as far as following your dreams, I have some stuff, kind of things that I live and operate by, and I wanted to share that with you guys. And then maybe some questions, and I'll answer some questions if you have any. Before we start, are there any questions at all? All right. So not to be narcissistic, but I will talk about myself a little bit. All the TV credits, he said, I did, and I also did Tosh.0 on Comedy Central, and Aspire TV, this little thing I got this for Christmas, so I'm proud of it. But that's my Instagram, by the way. If you guys look at viral videos, I do those all the time. So Aspire TV is Magic Johnson's TV network, and that actually airs tonight at 7. So I'm gonna try to watch myself on TV and not throw up at 7 o'clock. But yeah, so I have a different path than a lot of comics do. I've been doing comedy for 11 years, 8 years without a day job, just comedy alone, and managing to be self-sufficient. And a lot of my peers, they got exposure early. So I have friends of mine that started maybe in Atlanta or Miami or wherever, and they were on TV within a year and a half, 2 years or whatever. Well, I didn't get any TV for 10 years. So I had to figure out how to eat and stay afloat and pay my bills and stay alive really comfortably without any national exposure. So I have a whole nother kind of hustle that I could, try to give you guys, because I think that all of this, as far as following your dreams and aspiring towards success, lean on hustle, the effort, and the things that you put in. First thing, not to pick on you, but you got to unfold your arms. I took a psychology class when I was in college, and they said when you cross your arms, that's nonverbal communication for not letting anything in or anything out. So just receive all of the good stuff and the stupid that I send your way. Let's see. So I grew up in Olympia, Washington, and then I graduated from River Ridge High School, and I went to Florida Memorial College in Miami on a full academic scholarship that I did not deserve. I had like a 2.7 or something in high school, but I wrote a heck of an essay, and my senior project was incredible. So they said, let's take a chance, and they wanted to infuse black people from the Northwest into their black people from Miami atmosphere and get some more diversity. So I just got lucky and went to a school. So I went there for a year and a half, and it was like most HBCUs, it was located like in the heart of the hood. And it was kind of violent. Not that I was or anything like that, but the environment itself, it was off campus. Like you would hear gunshots at night. I was like, Miami is real. It's kind of like everything Trick Daddy raps about. So, and Rick Ross. So I got up out of there. And I went to Washington State University. And Florida Memorial was probably maybe 4,000 to 5,000 students. So I think you guys may be able to relate. It was like the size of a block. We had a lagoon in the middle of the campus. And it was like a constant party. which was cool. But then transferring to Washington State University was like 27,000 students. I was seeing people for the first time, and I'd been there for a year. I was like, this is crazy. This is too big. So I transferred to Eastern, which was like right down the street, closer to Spokane, and that's where I finished up school at. I really enjoyed that experience. This campus really reminds me of Eastern, like with the atmosphere and the way people are walking. I just saw some people doing a flash mob outside, I think. We had, did you guys see that? Somebody was dancing. Yeah, there was dancers, like out of nowhere. That's kind of the kind of thing that we would see at Eastern. You'd be like, what in the, but it's happening. So then I threw a lot of events at the school. I brought guest speakers and things like that. I wanted to enrich our experience in school. And when I graduated, I had an offer from the school to stay on as like the African American Education Program assistant director or something. But I had started doing comedy, and I had to choose, would I like to do that or would I like to do comedy? And I chose to do comedy. I'm skipping a step because it's a talking point. But I think it's essential to note that in order to follow your dreams, the first thing you have to do is know what they are. And that's very hard to figure out. It's very difficult to figure out, like what, and like, I'm not sure about language restrictions. I think hell is okay to say, but to wonder what in the hell am I gonna do is a normal thing for people in college, after college. There's probably 80-year-olds still wondering what in the hell they're gonna do. But in life, wondering what we're gonna do and what we'll put our energy into is it's a big thing. Like, what's the meaning of life for each one of us, and what are we gonna be, and what am I good at? And I didn't know I was good at stand-up comedy. I had no idea. Of all the things I thought I could possibly do, I was like playing football and baseball and good at science, and then somebody dared me, just flat out dared me. After classes every day, we would sit in the student union building, and we would just talk smack. We would just literally clown everybody that walked down the stairs. They wouldn't hear us, but we would be having a good time laughing. And my friend, John Fowler, he was like crazy. He was like the one white kid that kicked it with all the black people, but he was just cool. And he would do stuff like, he would walk up and grab like 50 plates and then fall down the stairs with all the plates, like on purpose, and just make the loudest, like, what the, and they got so used to it, the cafeteria people were like, Fowler, before they even looked around. And so there was this one day we were sitting in there, and I was just clowning around or whatever, and he was like, yo, do you think if there was like a comedy competition that you could like, you do it? And I was like, do it? I'll win, just being cocky. And he was like, oh yeah? Turn around. And so I turned around, and I hadn't looked this way yet that day, but there was a big like a big poster thing, and it said student only comedy competition. And he was like, guess what you gotta do? I was like, guess I gotta write some jokes, And so I watched a couple stand-up specials and was like, okay, I see what they're doing. They're on stage alone, they're telling jokes. I got some funny stuff, things I've thought of, or ideas that I always thought was funny, or something I saw that was peculiar. I'll just try it. And so that was gonna be on I think on a Tuesday in the middle of campus with everybody at school. I don't know how they advertised it so good. I thought it would be like this many people. It was everybody. It was the volleyball team, the football team. My crush was there. It was like the pressure was on, and I knew it was going to be like this. I was really scared, honestly, of the opportunity to do that. And so Fowler told me, hey, there's this comedy club in Spokane, and they have an open mic on Wednesdays. We're too young to get in, but they'll let us in while we're on stage. I was like, all right, well, let's try it. So I go down there with a 3x5 card, and I read off the stuff that I have on the card, trying to look at the card as little as possible. My memory was absolutely nothing. I'll be like, yeah, so then, so I was struggling, to say the least. But what I did do was I at least found some sense of comfort in that space to be on stage, because in life we're not really alone a lot unless we like make an effort to. And if we are alone, we're surely not alone in front of a lot of people. So that was a whole new world. Anyway, so so I did that, and then on the following Tuesday we walked on campus and we did the show, and I actually did very well. Like, there was like probably 12 people in it, and I beat everybody in it except for Fowler. And I did not know Fowler was going to be in it. Fowler just came out there and he was hilarious. Apparently, on Christmas breaks and Thanksgiving breaks and like spring break and stuff, he would go back to Seattle, where he was from, and he would be performing he would perform at all these different comedy clubs, and he was a real comic, and he dared me because he thought he saw something in me that I could do that. Sometimes you need that in another person to tell you, you know what, you draw, but you draw really good. Like maybe there's a career or something in that, and then you kind of water that seed that they planted, and it may turn into something. So I got dared, I did that, and then I probably had 2 more years at the school, and they did that comedy competition every 6 months or so, and I won all the rest of them before I left. I went back to the comedy club that I started in, and I had like 5 minutes, and I would host, and then I would feature, and then the club owner started sending me to other clubs he knew about in Washington. So on the weekends after class, I would leave and go do shows in like Walla Walla and all these other places, which like sounds crazy, right? But at the time, it was like free food, so we all just rolled. It was like me, like 4 or 5 of my boys. We would go down like 3 cars deep and just show up somewhere, and I would go up and tell these terrible jokes. I was not good. And but no one was. So at that time, it was cool. So I would, that's what I did. So when I graduated, there was a comic that I really liked. I like every time I saw him on TV, he was hysterical, and his name was Rodney Perry, and at the time, he didn't really have a lot of credits, but since then, now he's like played the #2 man in a Tyler Perry movie. He went on the road with Monique. He's been on, but anyway, I just saw him on this show. It was called like the Big Black Comedy Show or something. So I Googled him, and it was like, this is his Facebook. So I went on Facebook. I sent him a message like, yo, I'm a comic. I just started. I'm not good. And I'm out here in like the Spokane area, and I want to see if you'd be interested in coming out here. I brought a couple speakers. I think I can maybe have you come. And he was like, no, I'm not coming, but let's just talk. And so we chatted a little bit. I told him that I was coming up on graduation, and I didn't know if I wanted to go to LA or if I wanted to go back home to the other side of the mountains and just do something, or stay in Cheney and take this job that I was offered. He was like, you need to move to LA. Like, if you have any doubt about it, you need to move to the mecca of what you're dabbling in. Like, you have your toe in the ocean, come down here and swim with us. I was like, oh my gosh. So I just kind of stepped out on a limb, and I ignored the naysayers, any haters, family that was doubtful, and was like, I'm just moving. So I took $300 and I moved to LA. I had an uncle down there that I have never met, but my dad was like, he's a good guy. So I went down there and I lived in his spare room, and I worked at like an insurance company he owned, and I did stand up every night. And unfortunately, I didn't realize like exactly how big California is. Like, I know it's a long state, but I didn't realize, I thought like, I'm in Southern California. I was like 2 hours from Hollywood, thinking that I had made it, So I realized I need to move in. And I was like, that means I'm not living here. Oh my God, I gotta pay real rent. California rent? It's like $2,000 for this little table. So so I tried to save up my money and all that stuff, and then move in. And that was going fine and everything. And then it just dawned on me that starting off with $300, as much as I had accomplished, it was probably 3 years down the road now, much as I had accomplished and how I was staying afloat and I was doing good, that if I was going to move into Hollywood, I wanted to have a better starting place. So I went back to Washington, and I started a lot of different comedy shows and was working everywhere. And then I saved like, probably like, are you recording?
Yeah.
Okay. I saved a lot of money. No, I basically, like, there's all these, like, let's just say this is Washington, right? Like, there's all these shows on the west side and a couple on the east side and maybe in Walla Walla and some in the middle. And I started a lot of different shows. And then it dawned on me that it would make more money for me to have one show. So I stopped doing all of the shows and told everybody to come to this one show. And I did it every week on Thursday nights. And from the first show all the way until we stopped doing it, we had probably 450 people every time we did it, every week, and it was $20 a person. It cost to throw it, but I was able to save a lot of money and invest in myself, my career, and the things I wanted to get. Like, I knew I wanted a MacBook and a Canon camera and a tripod and things that I would use in my career. And so I saved, like, I would say I touched down in LA with like $27,000. And within 2 months of getting a place, getting set up, buying furniture and everything, I probably had $7,000. Just to give you an idea of how expensive it is. And I've been there since. So that's really what I wanted to give you in a sense of my journey. The credits kind of started to come, and now like I don't know your guys' perception of it. Like if you see, oh my God, he was on Tosh.0, I don't know if you guys are like, that's awesome. I don't know. All I know is I've just been working very hard, and every now and then my phone rings and somebody's saying, hey man, we got this thing for you. And the work that I've been doing, people pay attention to. And so it's not like it's so unattainable now. It's just a phone call. So that's how I did Tosh.0. Enough about me. Specifically for my journey. I just wanted to talk about it so that you could see the trials and tribulations, so that you could see the ebbs, the flows, the valleys and the peaks, because it's not always just roses. You know what I mean? Like I went down there, I hustled, I worked my ass off, and I still had to go home tail-tucked. Like I still had to go, like, man, I can't do what I want to do. It would be some stuff where somebody would say, yo, I got a show way over like an hour away, it pays $200. And at the same time, they're like, hey, we got auditions for Last Comic Standing. I'm like, but I need $200. So I missed the audition, go get the $200, come back. Guys that I'm funnier than, just by comparison, got Last Comic Standing. And this was, 7 years ago before they brought it back. They got Last Comic Standing, their careers went to a whole nother place. And to this day, they can't follow me on stage. But it's decisions like that $200 that made me be like, I need to go home, have enough money to where I can say, I'm cool on the $200. Let me go do this audition. You know what I mean? So now the points that I wrote down real quick on your paper, and here's pencil. Following your dreams. Like these are things that I either have had instilled in me by mentors or parents or, wiser people than I, or things that I have seen from watching other people mess up. And the first thing I would like to say is it's simple. It is to stay away from vices. Because if you want to follow your dreams, you need to be level-headed. You need to be able to see, you need to be able to focus. You know what I mean? If you can see your dream, you can't see it if there's always things in the way. So for a man, I think that is drugs, alcohol, lots of women. I think those are the vices. Every famous comic that I ever saw that like didn't blow up or that fell off, it was like drugs, like Richard Pryor, drugs, Rodney Dangerfield, women, Bill Cosby, women. So I try to avoid the vices that I see other people failing from. So I would suggest that. Now I know you guys are kicking it and all that. Cool, maybe it's college, recreation's sake, but don't do anything that would hinder or get in the way of what you're trying to accomplish, your next step in what you're doing. So leave the vices alone. The second thing is failure. You're going to fail. There's nothing you can do. You're going to fail miserably. Like you're going to fail so bad. You're going to call home or to whoever, Mom, I need help. Like you're going to. No matter what you do, you could be a football player, basketball player, soccer player, you're gonna fail. Life does not give anybody a path of roses. Millionaires fail. Poor people fail. You're gonna fail. So why not follow your dream, and then those failures that you keep getting back up from lead to something bigger. You know what I mean? Is that connected? Yes. Yeah? That look yummy. Whatever you just put, it look yummy. So I mean, from what I've experienced and seen, failure it's inevitable. Everyone's gonna fail, and I think it's corny to say, but it's cliche. It doesn't matter how many times you fall. You know what I mean? You guys have heard it, read it, seen it, tweeted it. Just keep getting up. Just keep getting. You know what I mean? Keep getting up. Sometimes you're gonna fail from the system, the way that a thing is set up. You know, like this is the way that everyone does this. This is how you have to do it. This is the structure that we all operate by. And that will cause you to fail. Other times, there'll be someone else in your way or somebody who is already in that station in life who doesn't want you to have that station in life, and they'll lead you to fail. The worst kind is when it's something you did, your own error. And that's the one you got to really like sleep on or try to get some rest on when you're like, I failed because I did that. You know what I mean? When you're really focused on your dream and your path and what you want to accomplish in life and how you want to affect the world and the legacy you want to leave when you're gone, you know, all the other things they're always going to be coming at you. You don't think Kevin Hart has stuff thrown at him every 5 minutes, crazy stuff, or anybody, Bill Gates, you know how many people ring his doorbell? Like, ding, ding, let me get, you know, $1 million. For what? Just, you're always going to be, you know, approached. It's just, you want to try and live in a way and conduct yourself in a way where you aren't the reason for your own failure as best as you can, because you can't predict the future, but just try to be thorough, you know what I mean? The next one I wrote down, and it made sense when I wrote it down. It just says jump. You gotta figure out.
Take risks.
There you go. Who said that? Thank you. Yeah, jump. It's just one word, but it really, like, if you break it down in the meaning of it, to say I want to be this or I want to do that, and to see all the other people who are already doing it is daunting. You know, like, when I first moved to LA, before I moved, I watched a lot of comedy. I watched all the comic views, all the Def Jams and everything. I got to LA and I was standing in the Hollywood Improv, which anyone can walk in. It wasn't special for that. But I walked up to the promoter who somebody told me, you know, that's the guy that runs the night. Go talk to him. So I was like, hey man, I want to go up. And he was like, get your ass out my face. I was like, what? He was like, get out of my face. You know when people say that to me? No, bro, I don't know you. And I was like, man, please? And he's like, no, I'm serious. Get out of my face. I got a show to run. I was like, what the f***? So I'm like, well, if a said person was to get out of your face, where would you like them to stand? You know, it was like, just go over there with all those other comics. I was like, all right, fine. So I walk out of his face and I go over and I stand there and I look, and for the next probably 10 minutes, there was like 7 or 8 other people that came up to him the same exact way I had just done. So every person got the same, get out of my face. So instead of, I thought he was picking on me. He's just callous. And the situation has made him like that. But what really blew my mind was I walked over to where I was standing and I was looking at him this direction, and I looked this way, and this is where everybody was coming over after he told them to go stand. All the people on this wall wanted to go on stage. And I looked down this line, and even though there's a show going on and I could barely make out facial features, out of 10 guys, I saw 6 or 7 people that I had seen on TV, in movies, and I was like, I'm never getting on stage. If they're waiting too, like that's, like, it was incredible. Like, so I was just looking at, I was like, this is nuts. I'm not going up. I might as well leave now. So instead of leaving now, I was like, I'll just keep coming here and standing on this wall until I bug him to the point where he's like, let's see what you got, you know? And that's what I did. And the good thing about Hollywood, and the bad thing, is that when you first go up on stage somewhere and they're taking a chance on you, they don't give you more than you can chew. They literally are like, just go do 2 minutes, brother. Can you do that, you know? And since I've been doing comedy in Washington and all that, I had like an hour in Washington, but only 5 minutes of it was good enough to say in Hollywood. So the 2 minutes was cool with me. Did my little 2 minutes, and he liked it. He said, come back next week. I went back the next week. He was like, do another 2 minutes. And in comedy, they turn a light on in the back of the room where the crowd can't see it, but it lets you know your time is running out. You have 1 minute. They say, don't run the light. So the light will flash, you acknowledge it, and then you close out. Well, I was on stage my second time doing my little 2 minutes, and I had already timed myself at the house, like, and that's 2 minutes. And so I did all my little jokes, got to the 2 minute mark, and started looking for that light. They didn't turn it on. He wanted to see what I had. You know what I mean? So he just left it off, and I was up there like, all right, and I walked off. And he's like, you could have kept going. I was like, well, you should probably tell me that next time. I could have prepared 3 minutes for you. He was like, ooh, 3 minutes. I was like, whatever, dude, you know? But the concept of jumping into that situation, not knowing the outcome, not knowing I was going to walk into a very callous gentleman when I first got there and all that, to just have the self-confidence and the stupidity to be like, I'm just jumping, I don't care, you know what I mean, is what it takes, no matter what the craft, the trade, your major, whatever you want to do, you got to jump. And you have to jump without knowing how you're going to land. That without a parachute, you know, try to have one. Try to have, which leads me to my next talking point, try to have a safety net, some sort of support before you dive into something head first. Like a pool. Say you dove in head first and you're like, oh, it's a 3-foot pool. Like, you want to have some sort of, you know, like, I had savings and an uncle that was already there. Like, you heard that. So I wasn't completely just like walking in the Himalayas by myself with a backpack and a walking stick. But I'd recommend, if possible, to have some sort of fallback. Like, it didn't work. I can dust off my wounds and lick my wounds or whatever, and I can, I can recuperate. But in order to truly jump, you have to do it without that in mind. It's kind of crazy to say that and then also say ignore it, but you have to. You have to just be like, whatever. You're going to have haters. You're going to have doubters. And honestly, a lot of times it's the people closest to you. It's the people who helped raise you. It's the people who, who you break bread with the most. It's the people who are around you the most. They're around you enough to not believe you can accomplish that. To think that that idea is crazier than something that you could actually do. It's someone who thinks they know you very well. And you have to be willing to say, bro, I don't care. I'll have new friends. I'll meet new people. And they'll all be doing that. I'm out. And you got to jump. You know what I mean? If you fail, you fail. Get up. Get back at it. Do it again. Try it a different way. Learn from your mistakes. Pay attention to what's going on around you. Don't repeat the mistakes of others. And, that's jumping. Rules. I wrote rules down. Now, this applies to the mode of failure that I said, that sometimes the structure or the system that you're in can be what makes you fail. Like, who's a Seattle Seahawks fan, just by chance? Terrible play call. But anyway, you don't have to be a fan to understand the story of a lot of the players on the team. They say if you're going to go to the NFL, you have to be awesome as a kid. You have to be awesome in high school. You have to be awesome in college. You have to enter the draft. You have to go to the combine. You have to have these numbers jump this high, be this fast, be this strong, and then you have a shot at maybe going. A lot of the guys on the Seahawks, Super Bowl champion team, should have been twice, maybe 3 times now if Coach Carroll would run the goddamn ball. Anyway, aren't. They didn't get drafted. They went undrafted. They slipped through the filter, and they are really unsigned talent and stuff like that. And Coach Carroll has an eye for these guys. He picks them and he says, we'll make you into the player that we know you are. And that's what makes the Seahawks so dope, because they're like the Replaceables, or I don't know. There was a good movie about, I don't think of the Replaceables, right?
That was a show.
It was a movie too.
Replacements.
Replaceables, I don't know. Anyway, but that's what makes them so dope to me, is that they're not a whole bunch of all-American dudes. They're like guys that were literally walking down the street 2 years ago not knowing what they were going to be, and then they worked hard, worked their butts off, and they went to the paramount that you can go in their genre, in their thing. And that to me is breaking down what the system says. The system says you have to be this guy, you have to play this way, you have to do this thing. And they're like, no, we're not going to do that. And they still succeeded. Whether it's football or, for me, comedy, you can still break those walls down. Like they say, a new comic probably shouldn't be hosting shows because you're new. Like, how much time could you possibly have? How can you entertain a room full of people and you've only been doing it like 2 months, right? Well, I personally was like, I'm not waiting until you guys say I'm good enough to have my own room. It would be my own room, right? So I'll just bring funnier guys. I'll be terrible. Not always. I'll get better. And then people would come to see the better guys, and I'd surprise them every now and then. They're like, oh, that's pretty good, Nate. You know what I mean? And so out the gate, throwing shows and stuff like that breaks a mold of what you would expect. Like, the whole point is that there is structure and there are rules, but I feel like in order to follow your dreams and to truly be successful, you kind of got to break some. And I'm not saying that to tell you break laws or to get arrested or anything like that. I'm telling you there's a box, and to have your mind in the right place, you need to be thinking outside of it, and you need to be thinking in a way where this is how everybody else is walking. Like, I'm not a lemming. If they're all walking that way and I see a direct path to what I want that way, I might just go. Like, you need to be able to break the rules, break the standard. You know what I mean? Be willing to. The next one just says haters, but I think I can touch on that in a way where I hadn't already. But I would say this, if you have a dream and you are working on it, or you are thinking about it, or you're trying to develop it, that you do it with people who have different dreams. You do it with people who are like-minded thinkers, but they have an entirely different realm they want to go in. Like, say you want to be a famous dancer. Well, don't sit in a room and talk about your famous dancer dreams with other dancers. I wouldn't recommend that. The reason why is because a lot of times you can be very unique and you can have a very original concept, and you're talking about breaking the rule and going your own way and making your own route, and people can hear that and be like, well, that sounds good to me too. And they can take that same path. Now your idea is not original. Or they can beat you down that path, just like, I heard you talking about it and I'm going. You know what I mean? So you want to protect that. There's a way to be around like-minded people, just people who are pushing for success and following their dreams. If you want to be a famous dancer, why not talk to people who want to be famous painters? Everybody still is talking about pushing forward. And another thing why that's good is because it exposes you to other discourses of thought. It exposes you to other ideas where a painter may say, well, why don't you da-da-da-da-da? Huh, never thought of that. Painters do that? Yeah, you know what I mean? And it could be something as simple as, I shot a 20-minute special and I don't know how to put it on the internet for people to buy it, or it is on the internet and ain't nobody buying it. And a painter would say, well, I sell my paintings, here's what I do. And then now you have that suggestion versus sitting in a green room with 5 other starving comics while they tell you how they're starving more. Like when it comes to people who are doing the same thing as you, I would say don't share your dreams, show them. You know what I mean? Like, be about that action, boss. That's what I would say. Like, talking about it is only going to get you so far, but getting up and doing is a whole nother thing. Hard work. I'm exhausted right now, and I should be. I woke up yesterday in New York, the day before that in Boston, the day before that in Phoenix, the day before that in Houston, the day before that at home in LA. And that's just from gigs and moving and traveling, doing what I do. And it doesn't bother me when I'm tired for those reasons. What would bother me is if I was exhausted for working a 9 to 5 for somebody else and never had any energy to try and put into my own thing. You know what I mean? So be tired, be exhausted, work hard. What do they say, 8 hours of sleep is a night of sleep? 8, maybe 6 to 8. So that gives you, 16 to 14 hours of being awake, right? She's like, I sleep forever. How long do you sleep?
No, I really don't need no sleep, but I need about 9 to 10.
Every day?
Yeah, just so she don't have these wrinkles.
Every day? Are you a vampire? Like 10 hours a day?
I sleep that now, but I do need that. But being in school, I get less than 6 hours of sleep. Yeah.
About 4 hours? Well, it's temporary.
I take what I can get.
It's temporary. It's temporary. It's supposed to be like that. And when you go on break, you're supposed to just pass out all over the house and eat snacks and sleep for 4 days straight, and your parents don't see you. You're supposed to. But when this ends, there is no schedule that makes you so demanding. Like, there is no syllabus or registrar telling you, here are your classes, here's how much sleep you won't get, here's how much study you got to do. You don't have that. As soon as you walk across the stage, what your schedule is and what you accomplish and what you decide to it's on you. You know what I mean? It's not that scary because you're your own boss. You can't get fired from you, right? What you gotta lose, it's you. You can maybe beat up on yourself like I gotta do better, but you're never gonna lose that job. You can just be the best version of yourself that you can. And there's more about hard work I wanted to give you. The reason why I was asking you about sleep is because you have to utilize the time that you are awake. Is this all right here? Okay. So you got to utilize the time that you are awake. If it's 6 hours you're getting or 4 hours or whatever, you're up for hella more hours than you are asleep. What are you doing with that time? You know what I mean? Like, what are you doing with that time? And you may not, what'd you say? Netflix? Netflix is cool, but after a certain amount of hours of binging and watching stuff, it's kind of like you're like, oh, I've seen everything in here. You know what I mean? Like, how can there be this many choices and I feel like I've seen it all? I'm not gonna watch all the kids' stuff. So if you can put enough, but I'll use Netflix as a metaphor. Like, if you can put enough time and energy into watching Netflix to where you feel like you've consumed this entire major library of media, what if you were putting that kind of time into your own thing? Like, what would the feeling be then? If you put the time that you're putting into, I would say, meaningless stuff. Like, I watch a lot of Netflix, but I do it for a different reason because I'm an actor, I produce movies, I do films. So I'm looking to be like, oh, that's how they shot that. Or I'll actually sit through all the credits like, wow, that's a good director of photography. Like, I want to learn from it so that I don't make the same mistakes or so that I don't mimic anybody on accident, because great minds think alike. And if I think I want that shot, and then somebody's like, you stole that shot from Desperado, I'll be like, I didn't do my homework. So I watch Netflix and television for different reasons. I understand it's good to have fun. It's good to, just relax and watch something. But if you're really following your dreams, you'll understand that while you're doing that there's somebody else who has the same or similar dream, and they aren't doing that. They're working while you're watching that. They're working while you're sleeping in. They're working while, you know what I mean? And if you want to be ahead of the game and on top of your stuff, you got to hustle. Very few people have been given given the world without any hard work. You know what I mean? Even a kid that inherited something, they may have been given the world, but that's on the merit of somebody else's hard work. Somebody else busted their ass, passed away, and boom, now little Richie Rich is rich. But this day and age, hard work, it actually does pay off. It really does, you know what I mean? And that's what I was talking about as far as the credits. Like, Tosh.0 is a great, meeting Daniel Tosh and doing that. That's cool, that's fun. But that happened from just literally going out every night and being at a show, whether I was performing or not performing, or, pushing the envelope on what I'm doing. Cool. This is cool. It brings me to my next point, and the last one I have. There's certain fields where it's really important to collect people. I don't know if that makes sense. Does that make sense? Let's just. I want my examples to really hit home. What do you want to do? Do you have any idea?
I don't know. Looking
No?
at criminal justice, maybe being a counselor.
All right. That's good stuff. What about you?
I want to be like a political activist.
Ooh. For just everything?
Mostly for special ed.
Okay. And what about you?
I want to be an ER nurse.
That's it?
Yeah.
You want to be the doctor? You're like, I'm just going to stop in the ER?
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, it is what it is. It pays good money. That's your dream. You're like, I want to fix people that are ICU bound. Good stuff. Well, each career that you guys said, or each dream that you guys have, it requires different things. Like for you, it's going to require a lot more school. Okay? And probably some strong references that are already in the medical field. And for you, as an activist, it's gonna require several causes and a lot of people. Because if you are an activist and you are alone, I don't know how powerful that is. But with a small group, even a small group, you can change the world. With a big group, you can do a lot. I mean, look, did you see the movie Selma? Mm-hmm. That wasn't a lot of people, but they were activists, and it took the numbers to do it, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And for what you want to do, you're going to have to just give up. No, I'm just playing. But I'm just saying, like, so for a comic, like, collecting people is very important, because if I do a comedy show and no one is sitting there, I am literally talking to myself in a room, and that doesn't work. So it's about collecting the people. It's about collecting the audience. That, to me, is the difference between, like, a Kevin Hart, who's the #1 rated comedian in the United States in the urban genre, and me. It's really the only difference. You know, when in his career, he did just real quick, he did like Soul Plane, and everybody thought he blew up, but everybody bootlegged Soul Plane, so nobody watched it as far as the numbers would say. Even though everyone saw it, it was like, you know, only 8 people paid for this, so you're not famous, but everyone had seen the movie, you know what I mean? So he would go do shows and the places would be full, but all the bookers didn't believe in it. They're like, you had a movie that was in theaters, here's the box office numbers, and it was worse than, what's a bad movie? It was worse than, yeah, that's bad, that's bad. But you did worse than all of that, so why would we book you this hot weekend of shows when we could book somebody who we know does good numbers? Like, we don't want to take the risk, you know? So they stopped booking him, and he actually was done. Like, Hollywood said, dude, your career's over, right after Soul Plane. And what he did to fight back was he talked to his agent and his manager, He said, book me in every comedy club in the nation. I'll go for anything. I'll go for $500. I'll go for $2,000. I don't care. And he went and he took his wife. They had just gotten married, and he would do shows, and she would walk around in the crowd, and she'd be like, can I have your name and your email? Can I have your name and your email? Can I have your name and your email? And he did everywhere in the nation until he had a list that was literally like 2.8 million people. Then he would shoot a DVD and be like, I got a DVD for $10 times 2.8 million people. F Soul Plane. Let's just put it like that. You know, so for a comic, collecting people is important. For an activist, you know, if you really want to pack a punch, it takes more than one finger to throw a punch. So identify that. Identify what it is, what it would take. What is the thing, like for what you want to be? Like, what do you want to be? Yes.
Oh, I'm really open right now. I really been focused with public health, maybe doing nursing. And
Okay.
People in that way.
Yeah, you should get with her. Don't share your dreams, but get with her. And, what about you, sir? Go Lake Show, yeah.
I'm majoring in exercise science.
Nice.
So my minor's in health. So like I kind of want to like integrate like the aspects of exercise with like drug and alcohol rehab, because like I've been in treatment, and so like I understand the process, and they don't really emphasize that a lot. They kind of just give you like flyers like you should eat better, you should exercise, you're changing your lifestyle, but they don't really like sit down with people and really like explain why it's so important. And I think that's like, I don't know, a key aspect that they leave out of treatment.
Yeah, I think that what you're talking about doing sounds pretty thought out, especially with personal experience being involved in it. I think that what you just said is the kind of thing where instead of trying to incorporate it or work your way into the system already and to say, like, what's your name?
Brandon.
Brandon what?
Bailey.
Bailey. So you'd be like, this is the Bailey way. This is like that's what you would call it, you know, whatever you name it. Like this is the Bailey way of recuperation and exercise and getting better. But instead of saying, hey, Oregon, the state of Oregon, can you put this into all your stuff? Like the people who are in those jobs are happy in those jobs. They may not be cool with the Bailey way.
Right.
F them. Start your own. Open your own. Like do your own. Like why not? Jump. You know what I mean? And that's really what I'm trying to get at. But in order to do that, in order to get to a destination, if you've ever driven anywhere far, you map out where you're going to stay. You know where you're going to eat. You know where you're going to stop. You know what I mean? So you know what you're looking for when you get there. You know we're going to stop at this Hilton. This is where we already reserved our room. We're going to, you know what I mean? And do that in life. So you have your points and you have your benchmarks that you want to hit, and you can identify with exactly what you need. Then it's not so far. It's not from here all the way to here. It's just from here to here, from here to here, from here to here, and you look up and you're like, damn, I'm a long way from where I started, right? So that's what I want to say.